Let's talk about one of my favorite publishers when it comes to culture and art books. My latest acquisition is Masterpieces of Fantasy Art. Like all books within the series, you get essays on the history, cultural significance, with a focus on the subject matter itself. And this was no different. We learn about how fantasy art was born from both classical styles and children's literature to be a fairly new genre, but one that has played a monumental role when it comes to our favorite fantasy and science fiction stories. Now, with this edition, it was published in three different languages. So you start off with an essay in English, followed by the German and I believe French counterpart. Although it adds to the pages within the book, it also allows the editor to select more artwork from the subject in order to help explain the point. I love the editor that they selected for this because not only did I learn a lot about the subject, but I noticed that there was times in which they were snarky. They certainly didn't allow the artist or the time period to get away with things that we've grown from. And although I do imagine this to be a male dominated field, what I especially liked about this is that the very first artist that we focus in on is the artist Julie Bell. With each of these essays, you get a little bit of a biography about the artist. There is some interviews included if the artist is still living, how they came to their art form, and what they are most known for. Julie Bell is an astounding story to start off with, as she was most known for being a model for one of the biggest fantasy artists out there, and how their relationship evolved from being muse and artist to student and teacher, and eventually a couple. And although their artwork is so intertwined, I really like how it ended on talking about how she had to forge her own pathway when it comes to developing her style with dragons. Of course, her husband is covered in this book as well, along with other really famous male household names when it comes to the genre. I saw references to this artist, this work of art, this director, and how his vision of Dune also influenced the artist who created the world that we now know for Aliens and influenced the director with their freaky drawings. In this book, it is not all male artists. There is some exploration on how the human form really allowed another person to explore their non binary identity and the difference between the masculine and feminine nature that they had within themselves. Astounding success with this book, beautiful images. I learned a lot. It's also having me think a lot more about body image, my preconceived notions when it comes to some of these figures, and how some of the most iconic images that I take for granted actually came to be. Are you a fan of fantasy arts, artists, and is there any particular work that calls out to you?